Good afternoon, Hit Nation. My name is Roy, and again, this will be my Wordless Half a Penny Part 26, Draft Edition Part B, and final part when it comes to the draft in particular, Pelle Larsson. And before I start, again, let me provide you my untrained eye opinion. The first thing I saw when I saw him play, when I saw his highlights, is that he is a guy that kind of pauses before his final execution, before a pass, before a dunk, before shooting the three. There's always a little bit of a pause. And that kind of goes in line with where I based these particular analysis, right? The one from part 25 and this one, because I haven't watched him play in college. I rely heavily on Brady Hawk's threads and the good people on Five Reasons Sports, specifically Five on the Floor, as they said that Pelle Larsson is a cerebral player, is a player that thinks, is a player that sees the game well. And it reminds me a childhood and early teenagehood friend against whom and with whom I played, a lot of soccer matches, and he had the same characteristic, right? It was very cerebral. He actually saw it and analyzed the game, but he also had that little bit of a pause, right? That millisecond of a pause before execution. And because the only attribute that I had as a soccer player was that I was fast, it became easy for me to disarm him. So they would put me guarding him, and I was more successful than not. And obviously, this was something that I was a little bit afraid when I again saw the highlights. But Rafael Patpat, number one, said that he's a solid player, and we're going to go back to him a little bit later. But the most important thing is that it does look like a solid pick. I understand the philosophy. The entrained eye stuff is back there. Now I'm going to go and summarize Brady's thread basically to you guys. But before I say something, what I think that in the end, that when once reading Brady's thread and watching him play in the end of the day, is kind of a combination of a Max Strus and Jaime Jaquez, right? He's kind of that kind of a hybrid, right? He could be a good spot up shooter, but he could also take contact and he can get to the paint. So those are the main characteristics when talking about Pele, which is, by the way, a very interesting name. In Hebrew, it actually means wonder, and a lot of people think that that's the reason why the greatest soccer player, in my opinion, of all time, Pele, was also called that. I don't know if there is any equivalency there, but who knows? Maybe the name does make the person, and we're just watching a guy that came back in a 43rd pick, came to us in a 43rd pick in the second round, and who knows? Just like other players that are today franchise cornerstones, like Nikola Jokic, he could become that kind of guy, even though he was picked in the second round. So the first thing is that it comes a little bit in line with the philosophy of having a 3 and D player, right? Not dissimilar in a way to what we saw with Khalil Ware, right? He's not exactly a 3 and D, but there is an element of a 3 and D to this guy. So first of all, what we see with Pelle Larsson is that he can get into the paint. He has, again, range. And when we talk about range, this time I think it's more important to point out that in about 3 attempts a game last season, he shot 43% from deep. And he actually shot 45% according to Brady Hawk from what is called NBA range last season. We also saw this viral video of how well he guarded Jaime Jaquez last season as well in college, and how we completely and entirely annihilated another guy that we know that can take contact and can get into the paint. And so that's why I kind of put them together. But in a way, um, I think that the most interesting aspects, like I said, right, the fact that as more than one person said, he looks bigger than he actually is at 6'6". He can definitely play make. That could be one of his roles. He could definitely lock other players down. It could be a role. It could also just be used as a spot up shooter. He has a high point of release. Uh, again, right, the decision making is there. He has a potential to develop a great basketball IQ in general, and I think that this seems like what the Heat are trying to get from these players, right? Again, don't know about usage, we don't know how he's going to be used. And that kind of goes a little bit in hand, going back to Rafael Podpag when he said that Pele is a good, is a solid pick. He also commented when the Heat extended an offer to Cole Swider that there could be a Duncan Robinson trade on the horizon. Although Duncan Robinson is definitely one of those guys that I would put in certainly one of the MIP's candidates for last season. I do think that Duncan Robinson may just be one of those chips for trade to get somebody that we want to get. And about that, I don't want to get into right now in this particular episode, but I will certainly talk about it later. Uh, I think that that's pretty much it as it comes to that, right? Again, it's a second round pick. We'll see what the usage is, but I am excited. I'm excited because I can see that the Heat are going in a certain direction that points out to inevitable changes, right? So I'm excited about who's coming back. I'm excited about the fact that Jimmy Butler is staying with the team. I'm excited about the fact that he offered Josh Richardson as well, that he opted in, and that he's going to be with us as well for next season, or perhaps also be used in a trade. We don't know, but certainly Pelle Larsson probably is better than I think that I thought when I first saw him, with that little pause and reminding me of a guy that it just reminded me of this guy, but I haven't spoken with him for a very long time, Patrick Kachala. In any case, let's go Heat.